It's not about the rank. It's what's in the bank. I make more than chiefs do, and I did it part-time. Poor people live paycheck to paycheck. Rich people live year by year. Wealthy people live generation to generation. You can never get rich by working for someone else. Question is, why did you take this job if you can't afford your lifestyle? I actually have 2 cases where people really texted me and they said, listen, I'm about to kill myself. And I don't even know who the person was. The only reason why they felt comfortable because they came to my class.
Most people that are making money while they're on the job, it's through what avenue? Or what avenues do you see? Like your top 3 or 4?
So most people.
Peter, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Lenny. Appreciate you having me here.
No, I appreciate you coming. Peter is the founder of the NYPD Financial Club, something that the NYPD and many police departments need because police officers, they're taught how to handle themselves in the street. They're taught how to handle themselves administratively. But when it comes down to being outside of the job and taking care of their family, they don't really have much training. And when I first saw that the NYPD Financial Club came into existence, I said, this is something special here. So I'm truly happy to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
And I know that this episode is going to be full of value. So
I hope so. I hope I can deliver.
Oh, yeah, you will. You will. I mean, we've been talking a little bit before the start of this, and I'm truly excited.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. I feel like I'm going to be getting like a free consultation here with just being able to,
hey, why not?
to talk to you.
Use me while I'm here.
Yeah, man. So, Peter, tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, where you're from.
Sure, absolutely. So I came to the country when I was 16. I came in 91 from former Soviet Union. And I was on public assistance for many years. And being able to leave the job and not to depend on a pension as, I left with 15 years on, it's huge, right? And my whole point of this podcast is to be able to share with everyone that there is life outside of the department and you can get there without depending on working extra 40 hours, 50 hours in overtime and not seeing your family. Because I always tell people, in 20 years, no one will remember you made that extra $1,000. But if you have kids, they will remember you weren't there for them, right? So this is huge. And being able to create something for the department where we can teach people and educate is huge. And I have a little story behind it on how we created the Financial Club. In 2019, I was assigned to Employee Assistance Unit. And I received a call from someone who blocked a name and a number. And for the next 40 minutes, we were discussing his life. He was very open about it, just complaining that he's tired of coming to work. He didn't give me his name or anything like that. And the conversation went where, I was asking him why he's still working. He had almost 30 years on. And he's like, oh, I don't know if I can afford the retirement and all that. And we spoke about choices and all that. And he felt very comfortable, I guess, with having the conversation with me. And at the end of the conversation, he even spoke about moving to the area where I live. And I even found him a realtor in that area. I gave him the number of someone who helped me. And at the end of the conversation, he said, hey, listen, I feel very comfortable with you. Can I have your phone number? And I said, sure, I'll give you my cell number, direct number. This way you can call me.
Yeah.
So he took down my number. And as he hung up, my coworker who was sitting next to me, now the guy was very loud. So even though I had my phone next to me, my coworker heard the conversation. He goes, listen, I know who this is. And I said, how you know? And he goes, the same guy calls almost every couple months and just goes about the life in general. And at one time he forgot he blocked his name and a number. And I saw who he was. And the guy at the end of the conversation, he gave me his first name. He goes, I'll just go ahead and give you my first name. I don't want to give my last name. And he said one time he forgot to block the name and the number. And it came up on the phone. But because it's a confidential unit, we can't really follow up to scare the person because he didn't want to give away. So I'm like, well, listen. He goes, he's not going to call you on his cell phone number. He has my number too. And I said, well, listen, at least he has my number. If he wants to call, that's fine. 3 months later, we responded to suicide, and that was the person. And when I saw the name, I'm like, wow, this name sounds familiar. And my coworker goes, that's the guy. And I said, what the heck happened? So when we went there, we started talking to coworkers, and we found out that I'm not going to mention the guy's name and the rank, but if he used to retire, his pension would be over $13,000 a month. He was very close to aging out, so there would be Social Security coming in too. And we were asking, like, what happened? His kids weren't kids anymore. They were already almost 30 and plus. The house was almost paid off. And his coworkers said every day he would come to work and he would worry about money. He would worry that he wouldn't be able to afford to keep the family lifestyle going. And he was afraid that he screwed up. And I said to myself, we got to come up with something. So that's when I approached my inspector at that time, Inspector Wachter, and I said, listen, let's create something. And this is how Financial Club came about. His words were, as long as you don't embarrass me, you're good.
Wow.
So, and being in the financial industry, I have over 26 years in the financial industry prior to joining PD. And even now being a licensed financial advisor, I was able to bring a combination of my prior experiences into this. And that's how we created financial literacy classes. We had about 6,000 members that already were trained. And we still continue this journey. And I'm coming in now in my own time. Right now, we kind of on hold for the summer, but we're starting again, hopefully in the fall.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Man, do you feel like a lot of programs in NYPD that wound up being beneficial for the department usually come from tragedy?
Yes, it's sad to say, but a lot of programs, they start from from the tragedies, and that's how Health and Wellness started too. In 2019, we took 24 suicides and 14 were retired. Right? Just think about it. You work so hard, 20 plus years, and then now you're supposed to enjoy that money. And what happens? That's how Health and Wellness came about, after all those suicides. And there was a lot of programs that were created after this, but unfortunately, a lot of cops don't even know about those programs. And that's what we're trying to bring the awareness to through the department with all the programs. And a lot of people, they don't believe in this. They think that it's just some kind of thing. But a lot of people that work in Health and Wellness, they really love what they do and they try to do it for the cops, so, but again, it's that stigma of like, hey, listen, this department is not doing anything for us. So the department is doing it, but a lot of people don't want to use the resources. That's the problem. With the employee assistance unit, so there's so many resources available, but people either afraid or they feel like nothing is going to be done. They don't even want to try, so unfortunately, but yeah, a lot of things start from the tragedies.
I keep hearing this more and more about police officers that are actually retired committing suicide as opposed to on-duty police officers. And you feel like the common denominator is working too much, not being around family. What do you feel like it is?
You have a couple major stressors. You have alcohol, you have domestic, and you have financial. Financial stress is usually the one that leads to all of it. And you have to understand that we, as the cops, we had a routine. For 20 years plus, you were doing the same thing every day. And then all of a sudden, you're done, and now you're sitting at home. And if you don't have a family surround you, if you don't have support, you got four walls, So what are you doing at that time, right? So if you have all this pressure, that's how alcohol starts, right? And I'll give you a perfect scenario. I was talking to someone, helping him. I was hoping he would retire, and he finally did. But detective first grader, his pension would have been over $20,000 a month. He was already aging out. A few years to go before age out, and he was still coming to work. And I said, why? I'm gonna make a little fun out of this, but I always tell people the reason why you should work more than the 20 years, only for two reasons. You either love what you do, or you got divorced and you're waiting for your ex to die. You want to share your pension, right? Other than that, there is life outside. You see, Lenny, you have to understand that our journey is not that long. We go from labor room to cemetery in a very short span. The time flies like this, right? So what do we do in between? And think about it this way. Most people enter workforce when they're around 20. Civilians usually end the workforce when they're about 67. That's the retirement age, right?
Right.
The average living age for a person is about 78, 79. So what do you have left to enjoy? And will you even be in that shape to enjoy what you could have enjoyed when you're in your 40s, when you're in your 30s?
Correct.
For police officers, most end this career in their late 40s, 50s, right? And again, how much time you have left, right? And what's sad is that even when they end this career, they still go on with other jobs. When are you going to enjoy the family? When are you going to relax? When are you going to enjoy everything you work hard for? And the problem is that cops don't prepare themselves, because think about this way. Guys that retired 20 years ago, what is their pension right now? It's about $35,000 a year, right? What can you afford with that $35,000 right now?
Not much.
And the cops that will be retiring today, they're not going to last in the next 25, 30 years. That money is not going to last either. Right. Inflation is on average about 3 to 4%. The housing market, 20 years ago, you could have bought a house for $250, $200. The same house right now is $700 or more.
That's right.
In 20 years, the same house will be over a million, 3 million, 4, but we are still having the same amount of money. So you cannot depend on your pension as your only source of income. You always have to be able to create something for you where you don't have to rely on this. You left the department with 17 years on, if I remember correctly, right?
That's correct.
I left the department with 15 years on, right? Somehow we made it. Why can't other people do the same thing?
I think it's mindset.
It is 100% mindset.
Yeah.
Because if someone tells me, and listen, I'm willing to guide and teach people how to get to that point, right? Coming from public assistance and being able to be where I'm today, it's huge, right? Not only that, I hear a lot of the times people, this is like mind blowing. Oh, but if I work another year, my pension is going to grow by another $1,000. Great. You can never get back time. You can never get back health, especially for my transit guys. Like, you have guys in transit that do 70 hours on overtime.
Yeah.
How? When you go home, when you sleep. And you know what? You may not feel it now. You may be in the 20s and 30s. When you cross that 40 mark, when you cross that 50 mark, you're going to feel your body is going to pay back everything. Like, you're going to feel from your body that it's not going to be the same. And the recovery time is not going to be the same. So the amount of time you're losing by not getting that sleep is going to catch up to you. And health, you cannot get back. It doesn't matter what medication you take. So when it comes to money, remember this: you will never be able to buy time, and you will never be able to buy health. So it's very important not to depend on that extra 70 hours of overtime or 50 hours of overtime, but come up with something that can lead you to not even needing an overtime. My overtime, I took always in time because I wanted to leave the department early so I can be there for my family. Right now, my goal is, I told my wife, she works for an insurance company, I said, you're going to retire in 5 years. And she's like, why 5? I said, because in 5 years, I'm going to get back my medical, and we can now don't have to be on your medical. Right now, I'm going on her medical, right? So that's the only thing that's holding me from retiring her. And I'll be 51 in a few weeks. She's going to be 50 in September. So hopefully we'll be able to live long enough to enjoy what we achieve. And it's not going to be by working hard. It's going to be by working smart, right? Because anyone can do it. The difference possible and impossible lies in the person's determination, right? So if anyone says that, oh, I just don't have what it takes, we're all born the same way, right? The question is, what are you doing during this span of your lifetime, of that little road that you have between the labor room and the cemetery, right? And the problem is that a lot of people, they don't want to do anything. I'll give you a quick example. Most people, they come home, what do they do?
Netflix,
they watch TV. I come home, I do something that will educate me to be better in the next couple of years.
You know what's funny, Peter? I used to take a lot of my overtime and time as well. And people were like, oh, well, doesn't he need money? And if he's not taking it in cash or if he's not doing overtime, how is he surviving? I try to live it within my means as much as possible, and still have gotten myself into trouble here and there. But a lot of the time that I did take off, it was to learn something new, to work on a business, to try different things out, educate myself, whether it was starting a t-shirt company, doing real estate, wholesaling real estate, learning about trading watches. I used that time to educate myself, and I had faith that I would be able to do these things. And not everything worked, but I think the more that we try, the more confidence we'll be able to gain, so that when we do find that thing, the failures that we can learn from can propel us forward.
Absolutely. And I was told early in my career, if you want to learn, no one can stop you. If you don't want to learn, no one can make you. So at the end of the day, what have you done today that will be different than from what you have done yesterday, right? Growth is huge, but you got to start growing. You have to change your mindset, right? And I always said, like, we have so many chiefs on this job that are, I'm going to get a 2-star, I'm going to 3-star. We got lieutenants that are waiting to get to a captain's promotion. And I'll tell you this, I had one lieutenant who came to see me, and he was like, Peter, I know what you're going to say, but I just want a second person opinion. He goes, I'm number 1 on the captain's list. He goes, what do you think? Should I stay and get promoted and work as a captain, or should I just walk the stage and retire? I said, listen, you do a lot of overtime? He goes, yes. I said, if you're doing it for money, as a lieutenant, you can make probably more than as a captain, unless you wait until you're top pay and get a chief's pay, whatever it is. He's like, no, I just want my daughter to see me cross the stage. It's been about 4 years ago. He's still a captain.
Oh,
Okay, so now because what happens is now you get to that point. Okay, well, but if I do just a few more years, I get the top pay, then I get the chief space. You see, at the end of the day, it's not about the rank; it's what's in the bank. Another game, right? So we have some chiefs that are broke,
oh
and we
man.
have some cops that can literally retire.
Did you come up with that on your own?
Yeah,
It's not about rank, it's what's in the
that's
bank.
it. That's it. So when we were teaching the class, I surrounded myself with people that can educate me, right? And it's basically, I'll tell you this: when you surround yourself with the right people, if you surround yourself with the wrong people, if you surround yourself with 4 people that are broke, you're going to be number 5. If you surround yourself with the right people, you will educate yourself and you will grow. So I made sure that we surround ourselves with the right people, and this is where I also learned a lot of things on my own. Like right now, we have a chats on Telegram Messenger app where we have daily stock chats. We have a daily general financial tips. We have a real estate investment chat, right? So I created a community where we can share knowledge with each other and we can help each other grow. And honestly, I made a lot of money from the chat itself because people posting tips on certain stocks that I got in made a lot of money. Okay. So this is what it is. You try to help others, but in return, you help yourself.
Mm.
And I believe in God, and I believe that when you do good by others, my wife, she's all about donations. I
Oh,
said to her,
yeah.
listen, I said, I never remember, I always, I will never forget. I was told one time, instead of giving a person $1, educate a person how to make $1. So my donation is my time. I never charge people for any consultation. I always do it on my own time. Even when I worked for the department, I would do after work on my own time without charging, just free consultations for people. All right. So, and even now, anyone who needs a financial consultations, I do it for free because at the end of the day, it's not about money. Hey, listen, those people can be my clients in 10 years. If they see the value that I gave them now, they become people clients later on. So, but
Wow.
it's never about money because when I was on public assistance, I had a person who helped me and guided me, and that's my way of giving back. So I do not do money donations. I do actually time donations. And I think that is even better because I will educate a person how to make that $1 instead of giving a person $1.
So you said when you were on public assistance, you had somebody that helped you.
So I was working for a bank 2 days a week, and my check was $153.46. I remember as of now for every 2 weeks. And the person, she was financial advisor for the bank. And she came over. She goes, listen, see you young kid. Do you invest? I said, I don't know what that is. So she's like, come, sit down with me after work. So I sat down with her in her cubicle, and she educated me on mutual funds, on stocks. And I remember clearly, she told me, she goes, what can you put away and not depend on that money? I said, I'm in a high school right now. I don't really have any expenses. I live with my parents, She goes, can you put $100 away? I said, yeah, sure. Every paycheck, I would put $100 away. And then when I would do other jobs later on, I would put $100 away. The year was 1994. In 2000, I put a down payment on a co-op, and I paid for my own wedding with that money. So this is how I learned that money is not everything, but it's pretty much a lot. Your life depends on it, right?
For sure.
But at the same time, it's not how much you have, it's what you do with it. So you need to start putting money into the right place. And I always teach people this rule of 72. I didn't come up with it. It's a banker's rule. So if you take 72 and you divide by the interest rate, it tells you how long it takes to double your money. So if you're leaving your money with the local banks, and I don't want to screw any bank names, but most of the banks, they give you 0.01%.
Sure.
So what that means is you're probably going to have to be born again before your money doubles, right? If you start putting it, even high yield savings accounts, most of high yield savings accounts, they give you over 3%. Right now, there's a couple of banks that give you 3.8, 4%, right? Now you're doubling your money faster. But now if you start investing money, you can double your money very fast, right? And again, nothing is guaranteed, but at the same time, if you put it into the right vehicle, the money will grow. And that's how people become independent from the job.
Yeah.
Right. But you got to change the mindset. You got to educate yourself. And you got to get to that position where you do not depend on the next paycheck. When someone tells me, hey, listen, this is a paycheck week, I said, great, I forgot. Because I don't depend on my paycheck. Right. So I depend on what can I do outside of the job that will help me grow. So
when starting as a rookie, what would you suggest that they do with their money?
The most important thing that anyone can do, and this doesn't even apply to cops, it applies to everyone. You need to know what's coming in versus what's going out. You know, I see so many people that they have the check coming in and they don't even know where the money is going. The worst case scenario I had was a person who had about $5,000 that we couldn't account for. On the paper, it looks like they had $5,000 to invest, but they were broke and they couldn't figure out where the 5,000 is going to. If you don't know where the money is going to, how are you supposed to fix your financial situation? So the first thing, that first advice, sit down, do the budget, figure out what you have going where, and then what's coming in, and see where the leak is. And this is very easy to find. Like, you know, I tell people, I'll give you a quick example. So Netflix, okay, since you mentioned it before, right? Netflix is going to cost you not a lot, but at the end of the year, it's going to be a couple $100, right?
Yeah.
In the long run. Well, if you have T-Mobile, T-Mobile pays for Netflix. So now you can have a T-Mobile, get Netflix for free. And by the way, I have 6 lines with T-Mobile. I'm paying $145. People have 2 lines. Sometimes they pay $150, $200 for 2 lines. Here we go. Just a little switch. And now you have extra a couple $100. And what you can do with it, now you invest that money. You see, so what I do is I guide people towards what to eliminate or what you can do to keep the same lifestyle, but be financially better by having the extra cash flow. And then I take that cash flow and I help him invest that money. So
That's great. That's great. A lot of people have the argument, you don't get paid a lot. It's expensive in Nassau County. It's expensive in Suffolk County. It's expensive to live in New York City. What advice do you have for them?
So question is, why did you take this job if you can't afford your lifestyle? You are the reason why you are broke. It's not someone else. Don't blame IRS. Don't blame you weren't born in the right environment. You see, a lot of us are byproduct of our parents. And I'll give you an example. If your parents were not financially well, you're going to grow up thinking it's normal. If your parents always had debt, you're going to grow up thinking it's normal. You need to break that. Because when you have nothing and you think it's normal, that's how your life is going to be. But in order for you to be financially successful, I'll tell you this, I didn't want to be my kids to be on a financial assistance, on any financial assistance, right? And what I hate is when people saying that, oh, I can't retire because I got to put my kids through college. I got 3 kids. One is turning 24 this August. One is going to be 21, and one is 14, right? One is a nurse. One is in psychology. None of them had student loans. The 20-year-old already owns the property. It's not because I needed to stay extra on a job to help him pay for it. It's because as a father, I educated myself to be able to pass it on to kids. Let me tell you this. Poor people live paycheck to paycheck. Rich people live year by year. Wealthy people live generation to generation. Right now, I'm creating a generational wealth already for my grandkids. My grandchild, who was born a year and a few months ago, she'll be a millionaire by the time she's 21. It's not ifs or buts. She will be. All right? So it's no longer about my kids. It's now about my grandkids. I want to pass the generational wealth. But what we're doing, we're concentrating on today instead of thinking the future. A lot of people are in that situation. And I'll give you a quick story. I was reading this book, and the guy in the book talks about us being a byproduct of our parents, right? And he walks into the kitchen and he sees his wife cooking ham, and she was cutting the corners of the ham. And he goes, why you cut the corners? She's like, I don't know, that's how my mom used to do. So, and the mom came for dinner that night. Hey, mom, why did you cut the corners of the ham? She goes, that's how my mom used to do. Now, the grandmother was still alive. So they called the grandmother. She goes, oh, the pan was small, so I had to cut the corners. So you see, just without even questioning, you're doing the same thing as your parents and grandparents did without even questioning. And that's what happens in life. People go through life thinking it's normal. I sat down with a cop, and the first thing I asked her, I said, do you have credit card debt? She goes to me, who doesn't? You fail right there. There are millions of people that don't have credit card debt. But you think it's normal and you think it's a part of life to have that.
Yeah. I'm so against debt right now. I know there's good debt and bad debt to be able to leverage it, but I've had such a bad experience with it that I don't want to touch it anymore. And because of me. and myself. Like I know who I am now when it comes down to having a credit card. And honestly, I don't have enough self-control. So I'd rather just not have it.
Cool. And by the way, you were asking me about what can a rookie do, right?
Yeah.
I'll give you what a rookie can do. A rookie can work on the skills outside of just work. I'll give you a quick example.
Love it. I love it.
There are courses that first responders can take for free on real estate. And I have the link. If anyone wants, I have the link. It's a company. Yep.
On investing in real estate?
No, become a realtor.
To be a realtor. Okay.
Now, I'm not saying that everyone is going to be a phenomenal realtor, but think about it this way. If you take the course, it's about 77 hours, right? And especially that it's free. And then you get yourself a real estate license. You don't have to be a salesperson, but think about how many people you surround in your command with every day. 50, 40, right? Someone is going to be buying, someone is going to be selling. How many family members you have? So now if they know that you can do it for them, you sell one house in the city, that's about $20,000 commission. Why not?
Right.
You see, I always tell people, if you want to be different, you got to be that 1%. And the difference is the 1% does that 99% doesn't want to do.
Right.
And the question is, are you willing to be that 1%? Many people, they will not want to do.
So to hammer the point home, immediately start working on something else outside of the job.
Before you even get the job.
Before you even
So
get the
how many
job.
people you
Before
know
you
that
get the job.
go to college and get an education in something that they will not even apply? And don't get me
90%.
even started with liberal arts. I don't even know what liberal arts degree does. Okay, business management. What are you managing? Okay, like you just wasted 4, 5, 6 years of your life that you will never get back. But what are you getting with that degree? Instead, you need to learn something that you can use immediately. Most successful people, they dropped out from high school. Most of them,
college.
or college, right? So it's the mindset, because you believe that this is what it is, this is what you have to follow. Hundreds of millions of whatever followed before you, and you have to be the same. No, if you want to be different, you got to be different.
With that being said, what do you think about college?
There are certain degrees that you must have. Like, so for example, if you love medical, you have to go to college, right? But there are certain degrees that are, in my opinion, a waste of time. And I'll tell you this, money is not taught in school nor college. And you know why the reason for that?
Because they want to place you in a system.
They want to place you in the system. Because think about it this way, if everyone was financially well, no one would be a cop, no one would be a firefighter. Who would be cleaning the streets? So the system is set for us to fail. Okay? And people follow the system.
And apparently it was put in place by what? Rockefellers?
I don't want to lie. I don't know who it was, but it goes from ages ago. I think even before Rockefellers, it basically goes by like, hey, listen, this is the school, this is the system. You got to follow the system.
Yeah.
And unless you want to be different, and unless you realize, wait a second, there is a problem. I don't want to be the regular person. But you know who teaches their kids how to be financially independent? Rich people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they want to make sure that their kids don't have to struggle, and they will educate their kids. And private schools, a lot of private schools, they have financial literacy classes. Because people graduate high schools, sometimes they don't even know how to balance a checkbook.
Listen, man, this is what you're saying is so spot on, and you're poking holes in a lot of things that I'm missing. But that's why I need to surround myself around more people like you. I didn't grow up, my father, he did well for himself in a sense that he worked for the MTA, he has a good pension. But as far as stepping outside of that, I'm
because
the first
he
one.
was in the comfort zone.
Yeah.
He knew that he goes to work, he gets the paycheck, he comes home, he get that guaranteed, but the biggest decisions are made when you don't want to be in that comfort zone.
Right.
You got to break that comfort zone.
Right.
Sometimes you got to be uncomfortable to be comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's me right now. I took that chance through the grace of God,
Yep. And you made it.
Yeah. I'm working.
Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Even in the financial world, I tell people, listen, you need to be sponsored. I can sponsor you to be financially independent, but the question is, will you study? And you know how many people said yes, 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 and then a month later, you're in chapter 1. What happened? Well, overtime. You traded potentials for overtime because now you realize that you cannot live without overtime. You're broke and you need that overtime. But what if you get jumped up? What if you get suspended? Where's the overtime then? It goes the downhill. right? So now you're in a bad situation because now you didn't prepare yourself. People, and this is a statistic that I had to Google. 70% of the Americans don't even have $1,000 saved.
Mm,
70%.
I believe it.
I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that's impossible. And when someone tells me that, oh, I just don't have, what it takes, I'm like, no, you have what it takes. But you need to just concentrate on what you're good at. You know how many people are good with their hands? There's so many different websites that they can start selling things on. And I'll give you a quick story about one of the guys that went through class. He lived by the sneaker warehouse. He goes in there, takes the pictures of the sneakers, posts it on the website, and when the item sells, he would use his NYPD ID to get additional discount because the store provided NYPD discount, and he would ship it out. Zero merchandise on hand, right? The guy was making about $600-$700 a month.
Good.
Without any merchandise on hand.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not saying that, but even if you're struggling, like I see people and I'm like, okay, what are you doing after work? You're struggling right now. Well, I don't know. I'm like, just go do Uber Eats or something. Pick up some, You see, one thing that I noticed, people that are born here, they a lot of times in a worse financial situation than immigrants. Because when an immigrant comes to the country, they have no choice. They have to survive.
Yeah.
They have to try to do everything possible to be financially better, to be able to support them and the family. But people that are born here, they're already in that system.
That comfort zone.
They're already the comfort zone.
Yeah.
That either the government is going to help or I'm just going to go get a job, I'm going to get my insurance and that's it, I'm set.
What did that situation look like for you growing up and your parents being here after migrating from the USSR?
Well, let's just say that I didn't even have time to go to college. I didn't go to college until I was in my 30s because I didn't have time. I needed to produce. I needed to make money. So the only reason why I went to college is because in 2008, during the financial crisis, I was working for a bank, and during the financial crisis, I lost 2 jobs in 1 month. I had a name in the industry. I was in wholesale mortgage division at that time, and I was one of the top producers on the East Coast, and the bank went out of business overnight. And the mortgage crash, 2008.
The big play.
So because I had a name in the industry, within a week, I didn't even have a chance to go on unemployment. Within a week, I had a company reach out from Oregon. And they're like, listen, we heard about you. Come, we'll fly you to Oregon. We'll give you all the training. You can represent us. Wow, great. Went there. A few weeks later, they closed down. So after the trading, at least I got a free trip, right?
Yeah.
But I realized that financial industry is not where you want to be. And that's how I decided to join NYPD. It was up to about 2008. I always wanted to become a cop because my uncle, he was one of the chiefs back in my homeland. So for me, it was like a passion, I guess, and something different. And I always was looking for adventure. Little did I know where I was getting myself involved. But I love the adventure. And to me, this was something like a calling, I guess. I really love helping people. And when opportunity came, I'm like, okay, now let me go into what I wanted always to do, right? And I applied, and then I realized I need college credits. So I went to a local college, and I said, guys, what's the easiest program you have? They said business management. I said, sign me up.
Easier than liberal arts?
Well, they didn't have liberal arts program. They had a business management that was the one of the easiest degree, according to them. So I said, let's do it. And what they were doing is they were doing credit by exam because I had so many years in the financial industry. They said, if you can pass the exam, you don't even need to be in a class. So I believe about 12 credits I just got by passing it because I took the exam, score high, and I got it. So instead of like 2 years, I cut it down to a year and 2 months or something like that. So that's the only time I got the degree because I needed it for NYPD.
Right.
But to me, degree was nothing. At the age of 25, I was already assistant vice president at Banco Nacional Paribas, managing about 16 people, twice my age. Not because I had a degree and all that, because I had work ethics. Every time I would go somewhere, I would learn what it takes to advance, and I would go ahead. And one thing I learned about working for a bank, I approached the person who was in her late 60s, and I said, can I ask you a question? I said, you've been in this bank for about 25 years. I said, I just came in at age, I was 25 at that time. And I said, I'm 25, I'm assistant vice president. I'm making twice than you are making. Why didn't you become assistant vice president? If you've been, you know more, you're teaching me how to do this job. And she goes, I don't want responsibility. And I smiled, I said, thank you. Because now I know that if I want responsibilities, I'll be making more money. If I'm going to be responsible and if I'm going to learn the trade, I can make more money. As a matter of fact, I made it a habit that every 2-3 years, I would look for a new job. Because one thing I realized that if you're staying within the same company, they can only increase it by a certain amount, your salary. The moment you go outside, your market rate is higher. So now you're going up by 10%, 15%. That's how I was able to become financially well, because I was increasing my salary without waiting for the bank to tell me. And sometimes the banks would match. They would say, hey, listen, stay with us. We'll give you this, what you got over there. So I would use that to leverage, my salary. But that's when also I realized that, you know what? I also want to be better, and I want to be self-employed, because you can never be rich by working for someone else. You have to work for yourself. And then the only person to blame is not your boss, you. All right. So that's one thing that I realized. And now I'm my own boss. My biggest problem is that I'm stuck in a chair most of the day sitting at home. But the beauty of my business is that I can be in France, I can be in Italy, I can be anywhere, and I'm still doing business. As a matter of fact, I'm going to Aruba next week, and I'm already have clients scheduled for the next week, and I'll be working from the beach. That's the beauty of being self-employed. That's the beauty of not depending on 9 to 5. That's the beauty of being able to control. Listen, yesterday I had a client at 12:30 in the morning, okay? And you know what? The client wanted that time, and I gave the client the time, because at the end of the day, that will pay for my Aruba vacation. You can never get rich by working for someone else. And I don't care what your rank is. The more you go up in rank, the more responsibilities you have. And you know what? The more also chances of getting injured, getting killed. For police officers, just think about it. Every time you put your uniform on, right? And think about this. This is kills me right here. People tell me, but if I stay another, and this is something new that they start doing recently. I don't know if you heard about it. If you're a police officer and you have 20 years on, and if you stay additional 5, you get a detective's pay. Did you hear about that one?
I did hear.
Okay, so let me break it down for you. Okay, you're gonna laugh at this one. So I'm gonna use a lieutenant's 10% increase, right? So for lieutenants, if you're 20 years on and you stay till 25, they'll give you additional $4,599. Now, great. That's
on your pension.
Yeah, on top of your pension.
On top.
But watch this: $4,599 divide by 12 months, divide by 30 days. That's about $12.77 a day. Liddy, I can work for McDonald's for 1 hour. I'll make more than that. But what are you losing in those 5 hours? Will your pension grow by another $2,000-$3,000? Sure. But think about it this way. Now let's go with that one. So let's say you're staying additional 5 years because you wanted that $12.70 a day, right? First of all, you need to see a psychiatrist if that's what you look, right, for $12. But watch that. So and by the way, I tell everyone, if you have 20 years and you're on patrol, employee assistance unit, they can connect you with confidential psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever level of psych examination you need, all right? And there are many of cops that are on patrol at the age of, with the 20 years on. I'm seeing this, okay? They can barely walk, but they still putting in a uniform and still going out there. But watch this. Let's say your pension is $100,000 with 20 years on, right? Now, you wanted to stay that extra 5 because you wanted your pension to be by another $3,000 a month more. Great, but look at this. I go to the website Indeed.com. That's a job searching website, right?
Indeed, yeah.
And I just put armed guard supervisor or executive protection. On the first page, you'll have jobs from $120,000 and higher. So what that's telling me that all those 5 years, you could have already collected $100,000 for free. You could have collected another $100,000 from doing something else. That's already $500,000 from the job, $500,000 from doing something else. That's already $1 million that you could have collected for waiting to get that extra $3,000 a month. My friend, you're going to be dead before you break even.
Wow.
People don't think about it. Their mindset is that, but that's $3,000. Oh, that's a cost of living adjustment. Cost of living adjustment. If you had a skill, you could have been sitting at home working 1 day a week or 1 day a month. Here's your cost of living. But no, they put in a uniform and they have a possibility of getting jumped up, suspended, modified, killed, injured.
Man.
So again, you know what? It's like you have to look at your life and see where you are. And the biggest thing is you have to find your why. Why am I doing this? Why am I here? Right? People fail to figure out their why. And that's very important. Because once you know why you're doing this, maybe you need to realize, wait a second, but I can be doing something else with a better quality of life. The reason why I left, not because I hated the job. I love the job. I love what I did. I love helping people. The reason why I left is because I was the only non-supervisor member of service left in my unit. And whenever there were details, I had to basically do the all-outs. I have no problem working. I started in 6-7. It's a busy command. And I have no problem being on a foot post. But I don't want to be on a foot post at my age right now. I don't want to be standing there watching birds, watching cats running around, and no one is there. And you know what? I'm not saying that we don't deter the crime by doing a foot post, but criminals, they go the block down. If I'm
Yeah.
standing on this, they're gonna go a block down,
Right.
right? So I felt that I was a waste standing there on a foot post, right? And for me, at midnights, I want to be in my bed
Yeah.
next to my wife with my kids and all that. I don't want to be standing on a foot post in the middle of nowhere. And especially, I don't even know which direction is south, which direction is north. I have to look at my compass on my watch to figure out if I have to run after someone, which way I'm running. I don't even know the area. This is how dangerous it is because I wouldn't even know where, like, what the nearest intersections are. And I had to really do research, look on the map, see where I'm located to figure out, like, if the emergency comes in, where I'm going, right? So that's why I said to myself, you know what? And by the way, this is round 2 for me with NYPD. I got let go during COVID. I didn't take the vaccine.
Mm.
And, you know, for me, it's a principle. I just don't want to be that person driving in a car, listening on 1010 News. Hey, this is law firm and so and so. If you took the vaccine 10 years ago and you have side effects, call us, we'll settle. You know, I didn't want to take chances. And I'm not against vaccines. I'm just against something that wasn't really research, right.
Right.
So that's why I didn't take the shot. And that I got let go that time. And the only reason why I came back, because my inspector, he said, listen, you always wanted to teach financial classes. They're no longer enforcing it. I was running my time. He goes, why don't you come back? And I said, you know what? That makes sense. I really love what I do. And even now, if I have to come back as a civilian, I wouldn't come back for money. I would come back just because I love what I do. I just don't want to stand on a foot post.
Mm.
That's the biggest thing for me.
Right.
I'm done.
So let me ask you this. If you did not have a backup
Mm-hmm.
and you were on that foot post, what do you think that would have done for you mentally?
That's how we have a lot of suicides. That's how we have a lot of people struggling at home. Because I'll tell you this now, if you don't see your family, and think about what's going on right now, they're canceling the RDOs, right? They're canceling days off because of all that's going on. It's not normal for our body to handle so much stress, not being able to sleep. And it's dangerous because now, as someone, I'll tell you a quick story. When I was in 6-7, I did basically 3 tours in a row without sleep. I had a collar, and then I was put on day tours. I had a court. I had to go to court. And then basically, I fell asleep behind the wheel going home, and I crashed.
My goodness.
And I realized, and it was right before Jackie Robinson, so it's a dangerous, route there. So I realized, like, wait a second.
You got into a crash, you said?
Yeah, I got into a crash. I got into a car crash, right? I fell asleep behind the wheel. And I realized, like, wait a second, what am I doing to myself? And since then, I always make sure that I get sleep, at least a couple hours. And by the way, I had 0 sick days. I always took my job seriously. In my 15 years, I took 0 sick because I took the job seriously. And people say, oh, you're a loser. You should have used the system. No, I take everything seriously. The only sick that I had was I was sick with COVID twice. And that's another reason why I didn't want to take the vaccine. I had more immunity in me than people that took the vaccine. Why do I need to take the vaccine, right?
Right.
But that's the stupidity of we're not going to talk
Right,
about
right, right.
So I didn't want to be, again, that person with possible side effects. And again, if someone is standing on the foot post right now, ask yourself, why? That's why you need to find out your why. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Am I happy where am I today? There are plenty of opportunities out there. The question is, what are you doing about it? And if you're going to be doing overtime, you're definitely not going to have time to do other things that can get you financially better.
Absolutely. I love it. Yeah, we have a similar story. Actually, the reason why I ended up leaving is because the vaccine mandate, right? But then at the same time, I was doing real estate and I needed to get closer to God because my life, I felt like it was in shambles. And I had a daughter that I knew that I wasn't going to see. She was maybe, 3-4 months at that time. And being that they were talking about forcing cops out if they didn't want to get the mandate or if they didn't want to get the vaccine, I said, I already have real estate going for me. So that made me feel that much more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once I left, it didn't work out. But the fact that I had it going and I was already making money in it, I said, I should be comfortable. So being that you had that backup, it kind of...
Yeah. And speaking of God, a lot of the times the signs are there.
Yeah.
We're just closing our eyes and we're not accepting it. And I'll tell you a quick joke. It was a flood and the area was flooding. It was evacuation orders. And the guy was told, hey, listen, you got to leave. He goes, God will help me. No problem. The water reaches the first level. He's going to the second floor. The boat passes by. He goes, jump in. He goes, the God will help me. The water goes to the second floor. He goes on the roof. The helicopter is flying. He goes, this is it. He's like, the God will help me. Then he dies. He's up there, and the God said, he goes, God, what happened? He goes, what do you mean? He goes, you were supposed to help me. He said, the boat, the people, the helicopter. I tried.
Yep.
You didn't take the, right? So sometimes the signs are there, but we refuse to accept them. We refuse to see the signs because we are so busy thinking that, oh, no, it's okay, it will pass. It will not pass because the stress that you're putting on you now will catch up with you later on. Because think about it, those guys that committed suicide, right? It's this buildup of everything that they went through their career, everything that they saw, everything that they would dealt with. And as a cop, in one day, you can see more than a regular person sees in a lifetime.
That's right.
So now all of this is now you don't have that routine anymore. Now you're home. Everything comes back at you. This is where the problem starts. And if you're afraid to ask for help, that's where things start going the wrong way.
That's right. Now, you mentioned something about patrol officers. If they do patrol for 20 years in their career, then they need to maybe see you guys in that unit, right?
Yes.
What's your thought process on that? I know it's a joke, but why do you say that?
So a lot of times people do this because they feel that they don't have any calls to make to end up in a different unit, right? So they feel that this is what they really love, but they just fail to realize that I'll give you an example. If you have over 20 years on, most likely you're already getting close to your 50s, right? If you have to fight a violent EDP in the 20s, your body's going to break. I don't care what shape you're in. It's not going to be the same as when you're in your 20s, right? So and I have actually a funny story with that too. I was doing outreach in one of the commands, and I see a guy with a hash marks on patrol. And I made a joke. I said, if anyone has over 20 years, I have a psychiatrist I can recommend, And everyone looked at the guy, and he came home at the end. And he goes, I just want to let you know. He goes, not everyone really hates the job. He goes, I love the job. I love the patrol. I wouldn't trade it for anything else. I said, cool, no problem. Now, I'm not good with the names, but I'm good with the faces. About 4 months later, I get a text message, and he said, listen, I'm planning to retire. He goes, I know that you're a licensed advisor. Would you be able to help me out? I said, yeah, sure. And we do the Zoom. And I see the guy. I'm like, I know you from somewhere. He goes, I'm the guy from that command. He mentioned the command. He goes, I'm the one who said, I love the patrol. I said, what happened? He goes, you jinxed me. I said, what do you mean? He goes, that day I go on patrol. I fight EDP. I break my finger. He goes, and I'm wondering, now I start wondering, why am I doing this? He goes,
that same day?
Same day.
No.
So he's like, I started to wonder, why am I doing this? He goes, and I start doing what you recommended to me, and I start researching what's available. He goes, now I drive a CEO of a company. I get paid $500 a day for just a couple hours of work. And when the CEO in the summer is in Hamptons, I get paid for 3 days, $500 each for each day without even driving anyone. He goes, thank you. And I said to myself, you know what? But how many people are out there that don't realize that financially they can make even more? And here's the best one. When person wants to retire, I always tell people, let's prepare for retirement. Send me the pension statement. 95% of the people coming to work for free. Your pension could have been more than what you're bringing home right now. How are you financially better? I had people that said that, oh, you know what, I have credit card debt and all that. I looked at the statements, they're bringing home about 5. In retirement, they could have been bringing home about 8. How does it make sense for you to come for $3,000 less to work?
Wow.
And especially if you're on patrol. And especially if you're putting yourself in a risk of being killed. Like anytime you put in uniform, that's a risk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you love what you do, all right, I'm sure you can find other security gigs where you can get free money from pension, plus make way more and be in a better financial situation and in a better mental situation, because now you don't have to deal with everything that you're seeing every day, and probably be even more healthy because now you'll have the plenty of time to concentrate on you.
I love it. How often how often should somebody be looking at their pension statement?
I'll tell you this, if you make the right moves at the beginning of your career, you shouldn't even looking at your pension statement. And the whole idea behind it is that you should not depend on that money. Now, I don't know if you hear this about it or not, but in the news, they recently had that the mayor was looking to borrow the funds from the pension system, right? Again, what about the Detroit pension system? Do research. People should do research to see what happened to the Detroit pension system. Also, I tell people, remember how a few elections ago, first responders, teachers, firefighters had a sticker saying no to proposition, whatever it was. They were trying to do an amendment to, Constitution. And every 10 years, I believe, they can put that back in it.
Wow.
And unfortunately, we have more and more liberals taking over. So is it possible that the pension is not going to be there? I don't know, but I'm not taking that chance. Social Security was also to be guaranteed at one point. I don't know if the young generation will get that. And by the way, speaking of young generation, what Trump is doing with the Trump account, he's basically replacing Social Security, because $1,000 invested and left there for 65 years until the person is 65 or 67, that's your Social Security right there. That's easily hundreds and hundreds of thousands more than Social Security is. So,
wow. What do you think about pension loans?
Pension loans could be good, could be bad. And this is where they can be good. If you have credit cards at 29%, and most credit cards 24 plus, but you're taking a pension loan to cover that, as long as you can control that debt and not go back into the debt, it's greater choice. But now, if you took the pension loan and you went back into the debt, now you have a pension loan, now you have another debt, you screwed yourself. So pension loans is not always good, but it's not always bad. So it's using the right vehicle. Right. So like a lot of people, they say, you know what, I want to be debt free forever, like completely eliminate my debt. I don't have a debt, but I will not want to pay off my house early because my rate is 275. So I'm going to, instead of dumping $100 towards 2.75 interest rate, I'm going to dump the $100 towards something and give me 16% return, 20% return, or even more. So you see, I want my money to make me money instead of covering something that the bank is only charging me 2.75. So, and here's another one. And it's actually a sad story. I applied for Finest Ideas, and one of the things was that in the Finest Ideas was that every cop in academy should take my class.
Yes.
It was approved. I was promised a room and I was promised 1 day of classes. Then it came into the most we can give you is about 2 hours. And then it came into the most we can give you is 10 minutes address the gray shirts when they're sitting and filling out the paperwork in the academy. What can you do in 10 minutes? And it gets better. I had to miss one of the days because I was on vacation. I was never invited after that. I guess someone got their feeling hurt that I didn't make it. So something that was supposed to be great, something that we could have made a difference for recruits, that's when the classes start. That's when you start educating yourself, not when you have 20 years old. This education should be given to you at the school level, but if not in the school, at least when you enter the academy, so you can start taking control of the finances. You see, so many times you go into academy parking lot, you see recruits coming out with brand new cars, right? And they can barely afford to pay for the brand new cars, but they now had to take the loan from MCU or Finest Credit for the uniform because they can afford that.
That's right.
But you can afford the brand new car.
Right.
So you see, it's priorities. Where are you putting your money? What are you doing with this? And this is where it starts. It starts from an early age, because remember, a lot of recruits nowadays, they're 21, 22, right? They don't have a life experience. So they need to be educated on finances. And this is not being done. And I feel that if we can do this, and I even said to my newsviewer, I said, listen, I can do it on my own time. I'm willing to come in on my own time and dedicate this because for me, it's a passion. For me, this is a calling. Like I want to educate people how to be financially independent so they don't have to depend on a pension. But we got to start early. And I've been promised the world, but so far, nothing happened. And that's why I said, if I have to come back as a civilian, I'll gladly do it. Not for money, just because I'm willing to help people and grow people, help them grow.
I think you would be really good at content, making content for police officers to kind of give them this information.
Social media, I need my kids to help me with that.
Hey, I can help you.
There we go.
You help me with my finances, I'll help you with social media.
There we go.
It's an even exchange.
That's how we surround ourselves with the right people.
That's right.
We'll help each other grow.
That's right. Yeah. Speaking of the future and speaking of the youth, what's the best way to educate my kids? Because I'm not the best at it. I want them to be way better than me. I want to have them, instead of them going to traditional school, and my wife and I, we've been going back and forth about homeschooling. But I want them to have real world application and to learn things that they can apply into the real world so that when they are out there, they hit the ground running. So that's why now, like I'm trying to teach them content in some way, shape, or form. I'm trying to teach them how to edit. You know, I'm trying to teach them skills that they could actually apply and won't place them in the system that school has set up for them.
So, perfect solution for you, okay? And just for anyone. First of all, stop spoiling your kids with giving them everything that they did not earn. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you a quick story. I had a cop who was negative. She was a rookie cop, $200 negative every month, living off the credit cards. One of the things that I looked at the breakdown of where the money is going. And I noticed that she was a single mom. She was financing 2 brand new Apple iPhones. And I said, who's the second phone for? She goes, that's for my child. I said, how old is the baby? She goes, 6. I said, you telling me your 6-year-old running around with a brand new Apple iPhone? Why? She goes, that's how I keep in touch with my daughter. I said, what's wrong with the babysitter? You don't have a babysitter for a 6-year-old? And she kind of stopped stumbling. And I said, listen, you could have went on eBay, bought a flip phone, put an Apple sticker on it. Here's the Apple iPhone. But instead you're putting $40 a month or whatever you were paying towards it. Why? And she looked at me like, you see, if my son just turned 14 in December, he only got his phone a few weeks ago because he makes money. He sells things in his school, stuff like that. But what I made sure is at the age of 14, all my kids went to work full time. My middle daughter, the one that has a property right now already at the age of 20, she got so involved with work that she unenrolled herself from the high school. She put herself through Penn Foster, which is online schooling. She graduated with less than a year for a whole high school program. And at the age of 18, she already had a bachelor's degree in psychology from online college. And now she's graduating a master program. She's not even 21 yet. She already owns the property. 0 in student loans. Because as a father, I guided her not how to depend on me, but how to depend and survive on her own. What you can do for your kids, you can start educating them the skill that they can use in the future by earning the money. And you can actually hire your kids because now, I don't know if you know this or not, but you can pay your kids up to a certain dollar amount and you can write it off and they can put it in IRA because now they have earned income. And guess what? By the time they retire, their kids will not have to work because there'll be so much money in there. And that's something that I always show people with a computer. It's not easy to explain how compound interest works. But compound interest is even Einstein says, it's one of the wonders of the world. It's basically interest on top of interest. So if you put $1,000 to the bank and the bank gives you $1, the next month it's going to be on the 1,001. So it's not going to be $1, maybe $1. Next month it's going to be on top of that interest. So you got to teach kids what money does and how money earns money. If you're just going to give kids everything because you feel, oh, my child needs a phone, without them earning that, they're going to get used to it. The kids need not to depend on the parent. The kids need to be depending on themselves. That's why most of the successful kids, they already have businesses. I have a client, she's financially not doing well, but her 12-year-old last year made $70,000 by creating a T-shirt company and selling T-shirts online. $70,000 a 12-year-old. And she was telling me that he was a little bit upset because when he was 11, he made a little bit more. So his business is going down.
Wow.
So I was like, I didn't know what to say. Yeah. And I said, maybe he should hire you and teach you how to do this. So now you can concentrate on helping the business grow. Right.
Right.
But again, and the other thing is when your kids have ideas, don't shut them down. Listen to what they have, because a lot of the times kids will throw something out there. You may like, yeah, this is crazy. Most of the great ideas came from craziness that people thought was crazy. Like in reality, it was a great ideas that came alive, right? So make sure your kids start learning the skills now and start helping you and earning money and buy things with that money. Because now think about it this way. If a child wants an Apple iPhone, I don't even know how much those iPhones cost now, probably $1,000, right?
Yeah.
But if they have to pay from out of their pocket, it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Because they worked a whole week for that Apple iPhone. But now if you tell them, hey, listen, you can have the same phone that with the same ringer for maybe $200, what do you think they will do? Will they spend from their money $1,000 or they will pay $200 because now you have $800 left? And if you can educate them that now you can put this $800 towards an investment vehicle that will give you $1,600 in the next few months, let them watch that money grow. Get them involved with this. Educate them on how money works. And this is how your kids become successful. As a matter of fact, as a parent, if you want to help your kids, you create a custodian account now. I do not like 529s. We outgrown 529s. There is a UTMA's accounts that I love, where by the time your child is in the 20s, even with as little as $50 to $100 a month, your child can be a millionaire. Very easy. Wow. Compound interest. And usually I even go in, I show my granddaughter's account. I'm like, listen, look what I did for her with just $50 a month. You can be there too, right? And it doesn't take a lot, but this is the thing. Our priorities are not where they need to be. I'll give you a quick example. And again, it's easier when I have the screen and the calculators, right? If you take a, a regular cop, they do not bring food with them. They buy food. If you buy food, especially in the city, you probably spend $20 to $30 a day.
Yeah.
But I always ask a person, can you save $10 a day? Yes, I can. $10 a day, that's $300 a month. At 12% interest in 30 years, that's over $1 million. Your food just cost you just ate away over $1 million without even thinking. Bottle of water, $1 a day. You know, I bring my water bottle with me everywhere, right? I have a filter. I pay about $8, and the filter lasts me about 4 or 5 months. But I don't have to pay that dollar. Now, that dollar, it's about $30 at least a month I'm investing. So, again, the water is costing me money. And honestly, what you're drinking, you're probably drinking your public water in the city of New York is pretty safe. It's one of the cleanest waters in the country. So you're probably drinking, as a matter of fact, not probably, I can tell you this. I have the zero water pitcher. It's called zero water pitcher, and it comes with a tester. I tested Avian brand, I tested Costco brand, and Deer Park. And there were literally few, it has like, the tester has a bacteria measurement, was literally like 7 milli whatever away from the public water. So you're drinking public water, but you're paying for it.
Wow.
You can boil that water and carry it with you if you don't want to buy a filter.
Unreal.
Right? So just little things like that will make a huge financial
Shift the mindset.
Yeah. You got to shift your mindset. You got to analyze where you're spending your money daily and what can you afford. Think about this, even all the streaming services. I'll give you a quick example. We had someone who came to the class and she came from meal. She said, guys, I just saved $72. I said, share with me how. She goes, I had the Netflix. I had a T-Mobile. I didn't know T-Mobile pays for it. She goes, I had a Disney Plus. She goes, my child is 21. I didn't even realize I was paying for it. See, when we set certain things on autopilot, because you got that email say sign up for paperless billing, those companies don't give a crap about saving the trees. They're making sure that you don't even notice what you're paying for every month, because most people do not look on their statement. Most people, when they get the statement, if you're broke, you're broke. If you have $100, you know I have $100. But did you analyze your statement every month to see what am I being charged for? Maybe you signed up for something 10 years ago and you're still paying for it and you no longer use the service. She had a 21-year-old. She was paying for Disney Plus. The 21-year-old haven't been watching Disney Plus for years already. Right? So things like that. And then she had another subscription that she also, I forgot what it was. She canceled that too. So look where your money is going. Look at your priorities. If you're doing all this overtime, do you even have time to watch all those things that you're paying for? Probably not. Right? But that money is being paid out every month instead of going to your pocket. That's your overtime. You can find your overtime by looking at your budget. Create a budget. Manage your budget. Learn how to manage the money that you already have. Okay? And I can tell you this, when cops got the raise, I was at the range, and when they announced that, oh, everything is settled, and it was like a few days before. And one of the range instructors, I was doing his defer comp, I was adjusting it. He goes, I have a funny story for you. He goes, my friend is a dealer at BMW. He goes, what's going on with NYPD? He goes, why? He goes, in the past week, I had 6 cops calling me, putting down payment on BMW.
Wow.
And I was like, that's the priority. For them, it's the car, not what they can do with that money. Because in 6 months, the smell of the new car, the feeling that you're driving a brand will disappear, but your payment will still be with you for years to come. Yeah. See, this is where we set our priorities. And unfortunately, for many people, it's the wrong priorities.
Right.
And sometimes when you come home after this overtime, you don't even know what your priorities are because you're so tired, you got to hit the bed.
How do you become more numbers oriented and drop the emotions?
It's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. Because if you've been doing the same thing day after day after day, you have that routine and you got stuck in this, it's going to be very hard to adjust, but you just have to realize that you don't want to be where you are anymore. You want to be different. And the moment you realize that, now you seek help from people like myself, where we can lead you, we can guide you. Every case is different. It's very hard to for me to give you just the general. So, but I always tell people, listen, you want to set up a Zoom so we can talk about you in person and what can you do? Let's set up a Zoom. As a matter of fact, I have a story. I have a sergeant who teaches class with me, right? And in 2016, he decided to become a real estate investor. His wife, she was a detective. She vested out with 15 years because right now they already have almost 50 properties. So she's now in charge of those properties, and he's retiring in about a year. But he comes in and he teaches how he did it. Because at the end of the day, again, it's not where you were raised or who your parents were. It's what you want to be. It's what you want to become.
Is that Sergeant Rivera?
Yes.
He's been on the podcast.
There we go.
Along with his wife.
So here we go. So you see, it's not how much you have. It's what you do with it. That's what I always tell people.
Yeah.
And do not depend on this pension as your only source of income, because that source can dry out very fast. And the younger you are, the less chances you will be able to afford that. Inflation, 3 to 4%. As a matter of fact, this year they already announced it's 4%. Every year you're losing money. So by you trying to depend on the pension, it's the wrong mentality. But in order for you to be number driven, you have to basically realize that you are not where you want to be. This is not the quality of life you imagine. And you need to change the way you look on life.
My wife is more of the numbers driven one. What do you think about how couples need to operate when it comes down to their finances? Because men, and this is what's been my problem. I'm the man, not anymore. Once I started coming to God and humbling myself and saying, and boasting about my weaknesses, I've been able to let go of the things that I'm not strong at.
You know, Lenny, what I realized, that we have married people that don't even know what the other person makes. We have married people that don't even know how much debt the other person has. Yeah. Marriage is a business.
That was me too.
If you want to be successful, you got to work on building the brand together. Okay? So if you're paying your bills, every often I sit down with the cops and I'm like, how much is your payment? Oh, my wife covers this. Wait a second. What do you mean your wife covers this? You want family? I have a situation, I'll tell you about this. I had a cop who had $77,000 in debt, filed for bankruptcy. Bankruptcy got denied. Felt suicidal, was referred to me. And I found out that the wife actually had no debt, had money, but we got it together. We figured out how we can tackle the debt together. 6 months later, out of the debt, asked him how he can invest the money. See, now this is a person who was suicidal. This is the person who failed seeing the things outside of box, right? But this person almost took his life away while the family was okay, just on one side.
Oh my God.
You understand? So if you are married and if you don't combine your money together and if you don't tackle that together, and here's the best one. Well, my wife or my husband, they're financially responsible. Well, first of all, who is there to blame? You. You got married to that person. So now you got to figure out how to make it work, right? Because, by the way, it's cheaper to keep them. But, you have to figure out how to make it work. Because the first thing that I did, I just celebrated 26 years of marriage. And the first thing that I did, thank you, when we got married, I asked my wife, not when we got married, but before we were even dating. While we were dating, I said, what debt do you have? And she goes, the only debt I have is my student loans. I said, when we get married, the first thing I'm doing, I'm paying off your student loan. Because at the end of the day,
when you get married,
us. Yeah. Because, hey, listen, I didn't know if we're going to get married or not. Why would I want to pay off that?
Right? Yeah, of course.
So the first thing I did when we got married, I said, give me all your bills. She gave me the bills, and everything we had, we opened up a joint account. Everything we had, we were directing towards paying her student debts. We were done within 1 year. And she had about $40,000, but we were done within 1 year. Then after that, everything became savings. Now, for me, my money, I don't want to say wasting money, but my enjoyment, where I spend money, is vacation. I try to go
so fulfilling
every time somewhere where I can distress and I can enjoy the world, and I can also but what I do is when I go on vacation, what it costs me, I trade stocks to pay myself back. If I bought a ticket to a concert, I'm going to go on the stocks and I'm going to sell right now, buy, sell, so I can make that money.
How do you do that responsibly? I've tried doing crypto, not so much stocks.
Learning. You see, here's the funny thing. In 2000, I was working for a bank, and my supervisor, she went to a meeting with the company that I'm with right now, and she goes, Peter, this is not for me, but you always talk about stocks. And she goes, why don't you go? They educate you. They sponsor you. I said, I'm not a salesperson. I can't sell shit. I'm sorry for not telling it.
It's okay.
So she goes, yeah, but they will teach you. I said, you know what? Why not? People pay thousands of dollars for college. I want to go for education. So I went, I listened to the presentation, and I'm like, well, they sponsored me. I have nothing to lose. Why not? I got all my licenses, didn't sell anything. I got it for education. For the next 7 years, I just held my licenses thinking that one day I will sell. And one day I did sell. That's how I became a salesperson. I was working for a new bank. I didn't know anyone there. It was my third week there. And my coworker, she was complaining about the taxes. And I was telling her about retirement accounts. She goes, how do I open one? I said, where do you bank? She goes, Chase. I said, go to Chase. They have financial advisors. So the next day she comes back. She goes, oh, I guess it's not for me. I said, what happened? She goes, they all leave at 3:30, but we work until 5 by the time I get home. And then it hit me. I'm like, I can open an account for you. She's like, what do you mean? I said, I'm licensed. I've been licensed for the past few years already. She's like, oh, yeah. I said, yeah. On lunch, let me bring the application. I brought the application. Within 6 months, I already had $1 million under management because she referred me to 70% of the bank. They referred me to their family members. So I built a brand from just one person. Sometimes you don't even know who is going to be your first customer, and it may come out of the blue. And now I manage about $100 million. And you know what? I realized that a lot of people need handholding. And a lot of people can do the same thing I do by educating themselves. It's all about education. Yeah. But will you have that 1 hour a day to study for just 4 months? In 4 months, you can get all your licenses. And don't even use the license. Use it for education purposes. This way, no one will ever take advantage of you. You know how many people go to financial firms and they pay annual fees? And I'm like, if you only knew what you could have done by just doing it yourself, educating yourself, and especially you don't have to pay thousands of dollars for education. Yeah. Companies are sponsoring you. Look for opportunities. And people jump on opportunities and then they don't have time to study because with all the overtime. I said, if you could have just separated 1 hour a day instead of doing that overtime, yeah, but I need money, I need to support. And that's where the problem starts, when people put priorities in the wrong order.
What about people that feel like it's too late?
There is a great book. It's called Start Late, Finish Rich by David Bach. It talks about people in their 50s. Just don't get the Canadian edition like I did. It's I thought I'm learning about new stuff. No, it's just it talks about what Canada has as far as investment vehicles. And I'm reading it. I'm like, I've been doing it for so long, this business, and I didn't even know about this. And then I realized I'm reading Canadian edition.
Gotcha. That's funny.
But it's a great book. It's called Start Late, Finish Rich, and it's about people in the 50s. It's never late. So you will learn so much. And yes, the longer you wait, the more you're going to have to put away to be in a better financial shape. But at least you will learn enough to still do something, but also you can provide a generation of wealth for your kids if you'll be able to guide them how to be not in your shoes. Someone has to be in that family different.
Yeah. What has been your weapon of choice, your financial instrument that it's yielded you more money? When you put money into it, it makes money babies for you.
So, it's funny. I have 2 separate accounts. I have one where I day trade, and I have one that's actually managed for me by professional managers, even though I've been doing it for so long. I realized one thing: don't play with your money when your emotions are involved. Because the accounts that I day trade, I lose also money. If someone tells you I win all the time, they're lying. Yeah. People lose all the time. There is no such thing as 100% winners, right? What I learned is I learned strategies. I learned how to trade the right way through the years. So now I lose less than I used to lose. But what I trade is now I trade the companies that I know, and I know what they do. A lot of times people buy, I'll give you crypto, Dogecoin. When Doge became a Doge, everyone was buying it. And I said to myself, they don't even know what Doge does. Like, what does it do? Like, I asked people, I said, do you even know what that thing does? No, I said, do you know what Apple does? Yeah, of course I have Apple iPhone. I said, so why would you invest into something you don't even know what it is when you can invest into a solid company? And if you get stuck because the stock went down, it will come back because Apple always delivers something different, right? And again, you have to learn where you're putting money. But the reason why I want someone else to manage my money, because what happens is if I'm making $1,000, I'll sell, and then it goes to $3,000 where I could have made. And I'm like, oh man, but it's because my emotions took over.
Sure.
But when it's professionally managed, they don't care about you. They care about making more money for company also, right? Because the more you have, the more they make also. So what they do is they do research. And if I'm to sell it at $1,000, they know that based on research, this should be at $3,000 a few years from now, or maybe a few days from now. They'll hold the money. So that's why you kind of want to have 2 plays in the game. Like you want something that's actively managed by someone where you don't have your emotions attached. And if you want to day trade, sure. But day trade with the right companies where if you get stuck, you at least will get your money back.
Mm.
Like I'll give you a quick example. During the financial crisis, right before 2008, I bought Chase at $50 a share. During financial crisis, that thing went under $10, and I was holding it for about 8 years. Then I went back to like 52. I'm like, enough holding, let me sell. And then it went over $100, right? Over 140 even. I was like, but you know what? Always be happy with the profits. Don't matter how much you made money,
Right.
right? So, as a matter of fact, as I was standing at the light today, I made a couple $100 just standing at the light, because again, if you know already how to do it and what you do, and this is what it is, you got to educate yourself. If you don't educate yourself,
right,
the best thing you can do is sitting in a car on the patrol on your meal and making your overtime in the car while you're on the meal.
That's
instead
amazing.
of doing 3 hours of overtime for that extra $150, whatever you're getting, $100, whatever it is after taxes, right?
Yeah.
So my overtime is my phone, and you can make money sitting in the bathroom.
That's amazing.
You got to get to that point.
With you being the president of the NYPD Financial Club, most people that are making money while they're on the job, it's through what avenue? Or what avenues do you see? Maybe like your top three.
So most people, either real estate or stocks, or having their own companies where they have the team set up and they can manage basically that. But the thing is that I always tell people, unless you're personally involved in your business, it's not going to go to that level where you personally controls what happens to it. So you have to be involved in your business. Employees, some could be great, but they will never give 100% like you would to your business. So anyone who owns their business, they can't do it really part-time and be successful as much as they can do if they concentrate on it full-time. And that's one of the things that I left, is because I want to make sure my business grows even more and I can concentrate on it fully, because before it used to be after work, like I can only do certain hours after work, and I was working hard, and I wasn't working hard to be able to retire early and be able to enjoy my life. Because like I said, I don't want to be that person where now I'm in the 70s, hopefully I live long enough, and now I cannot enjoy doing things because I'm already old and I cannot capable of climbing whatever mountains or whatever I want to do. Right. So I want to do it now, not when I don't know what's ahead.
100%.
And that's the problem. People get stuck in this. As a matter of fact, certain people have 30 plus years on and they still going. And recently we had a candidate assessment captain just going to work, died right by the car, over 30 years on the job, right? Still a young guy. And it's like, why? Like, why? You could have been enjoying. How many people that retired and didn't even get a chance to collect a pension for more than a year, right? Because we get to the point where we are exhausted mentally and physically. And now your health is deteriorating every minute, right? So, and you're not going to be able to enjoy your life. You're only getting older. Concentrate right now on what you can do, not to depend on that. You got to get the skills under the belt. And it's not the skills that they teach you in academy. This is the skills that you got to learn outside.
So being that you're proficient in day trading, for any cop that's listening to this, where should they begin to learn? Where should they get their intelligence? How can you?
There is so much material. There is so much on YouTube available. There is so much in the books that they can read to educate themselves on chart reading, on the right way to invest. As a matter of fact, I have a couple of books that I can send them. So if they'll DM you, you can give me them my information, and then I'll send them the free material. There's so much available for free. But just remember, just be careful, because a lot of people, they give the information. A lot of people follow the YouTubers. But I always tell people, if that person was so successful that they made billions of dollars, they wouldn't be doing YouTubes. They would be sitting somewhere on an island, chilling, trading their stocks, and be done with it, right? So not everyone who is out there, they're successful. A lot of times they'll show you their plays. But what about the losers? They only show you the winners. What about the losers? So, you have to be careful. But at the end of the day, if you don't educate yourself, I heard overtime is available very much in the FIFA days coming July 4.
The Knicks just passed.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing, it's like you're out there, you're complaining that you're exhausted, but you're still coming to work because you need that paycheck.
That's right.
And I love your purpose over pension, because they have to find a purpose in life. They have to ask them, what is my why? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Do I really love what I do, or do I just do it for the paycheck?
That's right. That's right. What were 2 or 3 books that you were going to mention? I know you said that you'll probably send them out to people, but if we could just mention them.
Well, the easiest one that I have is actually on my website available. I can send them the link. It's How Money Works.
How Money Works.
It's about 70 pages of everything they need to know. This is the rule of 72. This is about compound interest. This is the basics where they need to start before they go anywhere. And again, it's a free book, right?
Okay.
So I can send them the link to that too, whoever's interested. But it's the beginning. You have to educate yourself. Pretend you're going back to school. Pretend you're going back to high school, and you got to get yourself to that level. And you got to educate yourself. Actually, one of the funniest stories I have, one of the guys that's the most active in a club, he became a professional trader. And he started a conversation with me while we were in detail in a van. We were talking about money, and that basically made him think about this. And now he's the one who gives all the tips in the chats.
Wow.
He became very good at it. And he always trades. He always does a lot of money daily. And he teaches, and he always says it happened from the van by me sitting and talking to Peter in the van on detail. So
how much would you suggest that someone should start with in day trading?
Someone should start with what they can afford to lose.
Okay.
If it's $1,000, $2,000, be ready to lose all of it. Now, one thing that I can do is I always tell people, start with the paper money. Like Charles Schwab, they have a paper trading. Start with that. See how good yours is. Get a company you're comfortable with, the products that you use. See what you use every day. And if you like the company, see how they move charts. Learn the charts and see if it's good or not to enter it. And here's the best part. When you invest into solid companies, even if you get stuck with it, most of those companies, they pay dividends. You'll be paid more than what you get in the bank.
Wow.
So you can learn while you earn.
Yeah.
Simple, right?
How many hours does it require a day?
You can do 1 hour. You can do standing by the light and a trade, but it's all about getting to learn just few companies and just understanding how they work daily, and just monitor them for a few, and then start basically trading it and see if you're successful or not.
Okay.
And by the way, I want to mention another thing is, a lot of cops, they can already make a huge difference for themselves with what department has. I'll give you an idea. Deferred comp. This is a great vehicle, but the problem is they don't teach you what funds are good, what funds are bad. And in the class, we actually break down every portfolio. And I can tell you this, those people that just graduated the academy, they were told that, just open 401 and 457. People don't even understand the difference, how the plans work.
Right.
401, if you're young, you can't touch the money until you're 59 and a half. Unless you retire at the age of 50. When you're turning 50, we have a law enforcement exemption. 457, 45 days after you retire, you can start using the money.
Really?
Yeah. But here's another thing. Most cops do it pre-tax because they heard that, you got to save on taxes, put it pre-tax. But think about it this way. Most people that started career years ago, their paycheck was less than $40,000. They could have been in a 12% bracket. Now, if they're putting money away in a pre-tax account, then they were saving at 12%. When they end this career, they're going to be in a 24. So what you just did was you could have paid 12% on that money, but now you're going to be paying 24. You screwed yourself.
Oh.
You prolonged the pain, but the pain is going to be greater.
Yeah.
So that's why I tell people, if you can do the rough is better vehicle in the long run because you're paying taxes at current bracket and you don't have to worry about what's going to happen later. How about the annuity money that every union gives us after the new contract is basically after 5 years, you get that. The money is sitting in a stable funds usually. Just by clicking and adjusting it, you can put yourself from 2% to 15%. Better vehicle, and people don't realize that. People don't even know that. And you know what? I blame the unions for this because unions supposed to go out every year and tell the cops that, listen, this is what you have. By the way, seek help from professional advisors, and we should have a relationship with financial advisors. DA I know has one. LBA right now they have some retired lieutenant that also, but it's not enough for one person to handle the whole department. So, and I offered to the unions, we can do the classes, we can do this. Or I even offered at one point, I don't want to mention the union because I got into argument with one of the person in there. But I said, listen, instead of screaming at me why I'm doing those things, and that person actually screamed at me, I said, let me come up with an article and say, this is what the person should do, a yearly article. Put your name on it. I don't know. I don't need my name. It's not about name recognition. It's about helping each other, right? And the union said, yeah, okay. Never came up with that. Again, I'm willing to write an article. You guys put your name on it, right? And again, I'm not here to badmouth the unions, but I'm just saying that things like that, when someone volunteering and you don't want to take advantage of this, come on.
Yeah, and that's what the cops have an issue with.
Yeah.
That's why they complain.
And that's going to be easily corrected.
Yeah.
Okay? That's easily corrected. I said, I don't want money for me coming into academy. Bring me in. Free education with no strings attached, no paycheck needed.
And nothing.
It's all about passion. At the end of the day, if I was able to get where I'm at today, are you afraid that the cops will start leaving at 20?
I think that's what it is.
And that's what it is. And that's why they're dangling this carrot in front of them. They'll stay for 5 years. You get your $12.70 a day, right? But at the end of the day, those are the cops that will be in a challenged situation because now they're going to be old. Now they're going to be probably sick also because you cannot take care of your body while you're doing 2 tours in a row, while you're not getting enough sleep. You cannot go to the gym. You are exhausted. You cannot keep your health in the right level. You cannot eat normal food.
Right.
So you're hurting yourself, but you don't realize until it's late because you're going for that carrot with extra $500 or $1,000 a month.
That's right. And you said that most cops, they retire in like July. Like that's when retirement.
So what happened was the biggest classes at the beginning were July and January.
Yeah.
So this is where a lot of people, they retiring during those months. But now I'll give you a perfect scenario again. Tier 2, the ones that salary based on the last 12 months, they're like, oh, but I'll do US Open, I'll do the FIFA, I'll retire this. In those few months, you can damage your health so much. For what? For extra $500 a month? Just think about it. If you're in your 40s, that $500 in 20 years will be equivalent to $5 probably. But you will never get back your health.
Right. Yeah.
That's so, again, everyone takes control over their life. But if they just would spend just 1 hour a day studying, reading the books, reading the material that can get them better, we would not probably have all the suicides, and we would have a lot of healthy cops, a lot of happy cops, because they wouldn't have to struggle with the financial issues that they're going through. And finances causes everything, because now if you're coming home to a spouse that you haven't seen for a day or so because you've been so busy doing all those details, and now you guys broke. Now you have the challenges from financial. You have the challenges because you're not seeing each other. Okay, you're not there for your kids. What have you achieved? For what? For that steady paycheck?
Wow.
And I'm holding myself from using bad words because I don't want to go on the podcast with using bad language. But you know what? Come on, guys. It's,
Get with it.
Get with it.
Get with it.
Yeah.
Now, we talked a lot about making the money mindset. What about keeping the money as far as accounting? What do you look for as far as not getting taxed? Like, how do you find a great advisor that can help you to maintain and keep your money tax standpoint?
This is where I surrounded myself with the right people. And when I have a class, we also have a MOS who is a CPA. He comes in, he shares tips. Last thing I know I know about taxes, but not a lot. But that's when I use the person who knows a lot about taxes to educate me. So again, you cannot learn everything. That's why we have doctors. That's why we have lawyers. You cannot educate yourself in everything out there. What you can do is you can surround yourself with the right people. And that's what I did. I surrounded ourselves in the club with the right people, because if you have a tax question, the same CPA will respond in the chat to your question. So and the other thing is, you got to make sure that you understand. So for example, when you work for NYPD, you're W-2 employee.
Right.
When you work self-employed, you are 1099 a lot of the times, right? So now, as being 1099, you can deduct a lot of things that you cannot deduct as W-2.
That's right.
So you can control how much income you have. You can control how much income gets written off and on what, right? So again, you have potentials of making way more with making the same thing, because you can get a lot of deductions, right? And a lot of people don't realize that, and they don't understand the power of being self-employed.
I love it. Now, I know a lot of police officers, even myself, I'm not going to put it on everybody else, but when it comes down to my finances, like, I want to make sure that nobody else knows what's going on with me.
Mm-hmm.
And in the police department, it has a bad rap for people telling other people's business, right? So if somebody were to come to you, like, even though you're retired, you still know people on the job, you're working with other cops, right? Or say that accountant, right? How can people be sure that their information's not being
So first of all, as a member of Employee Assistance Unit, when I started with them from 2019, one of the things was this confidentiality. Okay, everything stays Because at the end of the day, and this is what I usually tell people, smart people talk about events and how they can be better. Idiots talk about each other. So I want to know if someone talks about me, I gladly, please tell me that that person said shit about me, because I want to separate that person from my life, right?
Yeah.
But the way I'm at is like I always keep personal, because at the end of the day, there will be no trust. Someone is definitely going to find out that you mentioned about this person something, and you know what? The world is small, so you never discuss what with other person, this person's finances or whatever it may be, right? Even sometimes I may say, hey, listen, I have no problem showing my finances, because I want people to see that I'm legit. Like, if I'm talking about investing,
Sure.
hey, listen, I'm in this fund myself.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend if I don't believe in it,
Right.
right? Here, take a look. This is what I got. Okay, this is how I did it. This is what I have. Now people feel comfortable, because if they see me being in the same portfolio I'm recommending them, they're going into the same portfolio.
Right.
Right. And what I'm saying is that if I'm guiding you, okay, there is no point of me discussing your situation with someone else, because why? Why would I talk about you with someone else? There's more things I can talk about in general about life with other people except discussing each other.
And you know how I know you're a man of your word? You mentioned that you knew somebody that I knew. I reached out to that person and I said, oh, Peter reached out to me to come onto the podcast. And that person said that you were actually a client, that they were a client of yours.
Okay.
You never mentioned that to me.
Okay. I think I even know who you're talking about, but
Yeah.
okay, I got
Yeah,
it.
you didn't you weren't like, oh yeah, that he or she is a client of mine
Right.
as well. You never mentioned that.
So listen, at the end of the day, it's about you, not someone else.
Right.
I'm not talking about, I don't have time to talk about other people with other people.
Right.
I want to talk about you, be done with it, helping you next. It's like, that's what I said. The world is such a place where you shouldn't have time to talk about discussing other people.
Yeah.
Discuss what you can do to be better.
And by the way, she's saying your praises. So the fact that you didn't even mention her at all as a client, but you just mentioned her as, somebody that you knew or somebody that we knew, mutually, it said a lot that you didn't even bring it up.
So yeah, no, I never discuss anyone, and it's just, again, at the end of the day, it's you and helping each other. That's it.
I love it, man. So you touched on it a little bit before, but what does purpose over pension mean to you?
Just ability to have something as a backup, and just something extra spending money. This should not be your main source of income, because like I said, in life, nothing is guaranteed. And if you look at the history of what happened to the Detroit pension system, they went bankrupt. So it's should be just something, hey, I got extra $2,000, $3,000. Great. Okay. And speaking of a pension, it's funny, I looked at my pension. So I'll have 15 years in July. Okay. I'm still running my time. And I looked at my pension. My pension would be about $3,100 a month with 15 years on. I'm tier 3. In the next 5 years, if it took me 15 years for 3,100, what can I get? Another 2? In the next 5 years, houses will be probably another $100,000 more. Taxes will be more. So my mortgage would probably be that extra $1,000 because of the taxes. So what am I really achieving? I'm just barely beating the inflation. But financially, I'm not going to be able to travel because everything is going up, right? So again, for me, pension is great. I got my food money. Okay, now the groceries covered. But my lifestyle is not going to be covered with that.
Yeah.
Because I want to go away every couple of weeks. I want to go away. I want to enjoy my life. I want to take my wife somewhere. I want to take my kids somewhere. So I want to be able to give them something that distresses them through the year, and I pay for my kids' vacation and everything, even though they married already, 2 married, like right now I'm going to Greece.
That's
and
fun.
I'm taking the whole family, including in-laws, and I'm paying for everyone.
Let's go.
And it's all paid in expense for them. But at the end of the day, it's something that I can afford to do because, hey, listen, our parents, they paid for us when we were kids, right? It's just a way of giving back. And hopefully my kids will pay for me when I'm older.
That's right.
From my money, because I'm going to leave them the money.
That's right. That's right. So what are your streams of income now? You said day trading, and then what?
So my majority of my income is, I'm an investment advisor basically, and I help people with retirements. I help people with life insurances. I help people with any financial aspects, and I don't charge because we get compensated from the fund families, from insurance companies, and so on. So that's what I do right now. So anyone who is retiring, I help them. And again, when I sit down with person, I don't even ask for business. I say, listen, this is what I do. This is what my recommendations are. If you feel that I give you the value, I will never say no to a client. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to harass you with a phone call. As a matter of fact, I have a rule. I don't follow up with someone I had a meeting for. I'm not going to call, hey, what do you decided? What do you decided? And the reason for that is because I hate car salesmen. And I'm not going to be one of them where I'm going to call you and harass you every week saying that, hey, so what do you think? What do you think? We're all adults. I gave you the vehicle. If you feel that there is a value in it, you will call. Once you become a client, now I follow up with you because now you're serious. Now I'm going to be in touch because I want to make sure you grow. So that's when I do. But I do not. And maybe it's wrong. My partner, he always screams at me. He goes, you're supposed to call the person you had a meeting a month ago. I said, no, I gave everything that I could to that person. If the person goes out and gets a better person, let them go with that person.
Yeah.
I gave whatever value I have. If they feel they get a better value out there, they go to that person, they get whatever they can there. At the end of the day, I want them to be happy with whoever they choose to manage their money, right? So this is where how I do my business, and been very successful. Like I said, a lot of people, and I'm not bragging, but I make more than chiefs do, and I did it part-time, just by basically working after work, doing my business, growing my business to the point where I can retire now and I can double my income now because I can concentrate on this full time.
Wow.
And I'm willing to teach anyone who wants to do it because at the end of the day, like I said, for me, it's just my purpose in life, right? Help others, educate them. And again, financially, if a person comes back to me and says, hey, listen, you helped me 10 years ago, which I had people that I helped eliminate that. I had a couple of people call me 3-4 years ago that said, Peter, I want to start investing. Can you help me out? Before I invest for anyone, I ask them questions on debt, what they have. People had credit card debt. I said, I will refuse to take you as a client. And people are like, what do you mean? I said, how can I take you as a client where if I'm going to take that $50, $100 away from you and put it in an investment vehicle, you could have put that towards the credit card and eliminate it faster. Let's get your debt under control. 95% of the people come back years later and said, hey, listen, I'm out of the debt. Help me now. But now instead of what? Instead of $100, now you're putting $500 because you're now no longer paying credit card bill, right? So what you just did was you eliminated debt, and now you start to grow your money.
Peter, this has been great. I mean, what are we at? An hour and 45 minutes. I've been hooked the whole time. So much value here, and I really hope that this saves families. It will. I don't hope it. I know it will save families. I know it will save lives. And
sorry, I interrupted you.
No,
there is
please,
a story
please do.
about a starfish story. This is something when you get assigned to employee assistance, they give you that pamphlet. I'm going to share this story, right? So it was a stormy night, and the next morning, older man gets up in the morning. He decides to walk on the beach to see what happened, all the destruction, and he sees this beach full of starfish that waves brought over. And he sees a little kid pick up the starfish and throw it in the water. He goes to him. He goes, young man, what are you doing? He goes, well, if I don't throw it back, it's going to die. He goes, but there are thousands of them here. So the young kid picks up, he takes one, he throws, he goes, I know, but I just made a difference for that one. So at the end of the day, it's not about helping everyone. But if we can get one person and we can make a difference on that one person's life, you achieved something.
Man.
And believe it or not, I actually have 2 cases where people really texted me and they said, listen, I'm about to kill myself. And I don't even know who the person was. The only reason why they felt comfortable because they came to my class, and it's people from the class. We exchanged information, and my kids are my witnesses. I was in the car with one of them. I was driving, and I got a text while I was on the highway. And usually I don't check the phones, but something made me pick up the phone, and it was a text message saying, what's going to happen to my family when I kill myself? I thought it was a joke for first, and then I pulled over. I'm like, wait a second, who is this person? I don't even know who this person is. And then I started looking at the name because the person gave me the name during the class, and we saved each other's numbers. And I'm like, I think this is the person from the class. And I called him, and the guy was crying. This is a regular cop. And I was able to reach out to AU. I was already running my time at that time. I wasn't on the job at that time. And I was able to, they got to the person. And usually when a person is emotionally disturbed, they in and out of the place. This person was in the hospital for 2 weeks. And now he's fully retired, full duty, retired. So that's one of the cases. The other case, it was another case, also similar situation. But again, I'm not trying to make a difference for millions. But if I can get to one person, that's already a big plus. Right?
Thank you
That's
so
all it
much,
is.
man.
Yeah, no
That
problem.
was great.
No problem. Thank you, buddy.
Actually, you know what? Can people find you?
I kind of don't know if I should give out my number on the
On
podcast.
social media,
Social media, yeah. So if they contact me, I'm on Instagram, NYPD Financial Club. So if they want to DM me, and then I'll give them my personal cell phone number then.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not comfortable to give out my cell phone number on the podcast.
Instagram is good enough, yeah.
But or if they'll reach out to you, you have my number. You can give my phone number to them.
Okay.
Or
Your services, you said that you do offer financial services.
yeah,
correct?
if anyone wants a financial consultation, like I said, I don't charge.
Yeah.
Money is not everything. It's not about money, everything, right? So if I can help someone,
Yeah, but you
potentially
do
that's
have a
potential
business.
client.
You do have a business.
It's okay, Lenny. I'm a self-employed. I have plenty of time. I don't have to do 8:35 now. My 8:35 is waking up in the morning, going to the gym, and then I'm available, right? Like I said, I do businesses even at 12 o'clock in the morning sometimes, right?
Wow.
Very rarely.
Yeah.
It might make it upset. But, at the end of the day, again, if I can help someone, sure.
Love it.
A
Love
few
it.
years later, they may become a client. Maybe not. It's okay. They may refer me to someone else, right? And may become a client. So at the end of the day, it's not about money.
Peter, I appreciate you, man. This has been excellent.
It's good to be on something like that where we both can make a difference, with a podcast. I know you had a good podcast prior that I watched, and hopefully people take advantages of this and they educate themselves.
They will. They will. Thank you once again, brother.
You're welcome.
This has been amazing.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you.